only beginning, but I went to one day, Cu Chi, northwest of Saigon. The district chief in whose area it lies, Captain Nguyen Van Binh, showed me around. The most important thing about strategic villages is that they are fenced in and fortified, and they are compulsory. Everybody must be inside at night when the fences are to be floodlighted. Anybody outside is a fair target. Unless the village is a remote one, the villagers must supply the labor and the materials, mostly bamboo and barbed wire, themselves. Local men in civil guard or self-defense units provide the protection. One possible defect in the strategic villages is that they may fence the communists in instead of fencing them out. They're also expensive, and they may give the peasants the idea that they are in some way prisoners of the government. But the South Vietnamese government is convinced that this is the answer to giving the peasant security, the preliminary to winning his allegiance. The United States government is equally convinced, and its forces in South Vietnam give all the help they can. Strategic villages are naturally made, not born, and there's a good deal more to the job than just putting up the perimeter fence. Government teams go into the villages, line up the peasants, voluntarily or otherwise, and help them to establish an area they can defend themselves. The Americans have undertaken the job of training these teams. For 3 weeks, they're trained by Special Forces instructors at a camp, and for 2 weeks, they go into the field to villages where they teach the procedures they have learned. It was during this on-the-job training that Sergeants Gabriel and Marchand of Red Ball Platoon were murdered. The trainees learned to use the Springfield rifle so that they in their turn can teach the villagers. It must all begin with this, because if the peasants cannot find safety in the strategic villages, the South Vietnamese government will suffer a disaster, and so will the United States. The American advisors work with villagers only through local officials, so as not to give offense and not to help the communist line that we are running the government. When the civic action teams are finished, they leave the American rifles behind if they think the local people can be trusted. They also leave behind 2 or 3 team members. The presumption is that they and others to come will establish schools and clinics and offer agricultural credit and advice so that the peasants will not only be protected but will have a better life. It's a large order, but nobody denies that something like it must be done.
The latest plan instituted by President Diem's government to clear an area of guerrillas Empty houses hurriedly left by these uprooted people bear moot testimony to the gamble in Operation Sunrise. At stake for the government are prestige, military security, and the support of the people. While the Americans may not approve of every aspect, by their economic involvement, They stand to share blame if it fails, if not credit for a success. The new settlers and their missing menfolk will provide the ultimate answer. For the present, they are saying very little.
It all comes down to the peasant. We met nobody who put it more clearly than the chief of Kien Hoa province, one of the most difficult provinces. He's Lieutenant Colonel Phạm Ngọc Thảo.
Colonel, in your opinion, how can this war be won?
It is a question that I often try to have a reply, an answer, but I think the best way to win this war is to have the help of the people. And if you want to have this help, I think it is not big army or many guns can bring you the help of the people, but mostly I think the most important thing is to bring justice to the peasant, because the peasants are the greatest part of our population.
Well, how do you do that?
To have good self-defense and to have good village council. First, the village, if the village council are good men, they give justice to the peasant. And the peasant consider that the village council is the same as the government. They never meet the chief of the province, chief of district, or president of the state, but they always have to meet the village council. So if the village council give justice to them, they will help the village council and in the same time all the government. And the second thing is the self-defense. If the self-defense in the village do a good job, it means if they don't take money from the people, if they don't make trouble to the people, and if truly they help the population and protect them against not only the VC, but against everyone who wants to make trouble to them, the people like them and help them.